Perfect? Bang on my chest if you think I'm perfect. Go ahead, bang on it.
No heart?
You gotta have heart. Miles and miles of heart.
This is Patchwork Heart Ministries' Young Catholics Respond, brought to you by Breadbox Media. Now, here's your host, Bill Snyder.
Thanks, Adam, and welcome to the program, everybody. I am Bill Snyder. This is Young Catholics Respond. It is wonderful to have you with us today, no matter where you're listening from. Thank you for tuning in. Always want to give a shout out to our friends at the Light of Life Radio Network in West Virginia. Thank you if you're tuning in on Light of Life Radio, and don't forget to support them here as the year ends. Please give generously to all those who support Young Catholics Respond and Patchwork Heart Ministry. I don't want to spend too much time talking about ourselves, though, today, because I have a wonderful guest with me. His name is Brandon McGinley, and he is a Catholic writer and speaker based in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. His work has appeared in the Washington Post, the New York Post, First Things, and The Lamp, among other venues. He is also a contributing editor at Plow Quarterly. His first book, The Prodigal Church, Restoring Catholic Tradition in an Age of Deception, was released in June of 2020. He speaks around the country on topics ranging from Catholic family life to friendship to church renewal. Brandon is a 2010 graduate of Princeton University, where he met his wife, Katie, and they have 4 young children and live in the Pittsburgh neighborhood of Brookline. So, Brandon, welcome to the program, and thank you so much for coming on Young Catholics Respond.
Oh, it's no problem at all. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So it does sound like you have a fascinating journey. I know today we're going to spend some time talking about a new book that was just released with you and Dr. Scott Hahn called It Is Just and Right. But before we get to that, I would love to just hear a little bit of your faith journey, because it sounds like you have a unique one and a powerful one.
Sure, thank you. Yeah. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, and was a member of a Catholic family, one of those Pittsburgh families that you can go way back for generations, and everyone's Catholic. That's just how it was around here. And both my parents grew up in city neighborhoods where the parish was the center of not just spiritual life but all life, where the gym was where all the major community events would be held and things like that. And then, I think like a lot of people of my generation, by the time I got to middle and high school, I was feeling a little bit less attached to the whole thing. I would say that, like a lot of people also my generation, I was presented in catechesis a vision of the faith that was pretty childish, that played into a lot of the stereotypes of the world around us. And so, when the faith is watered down to make it palatable to children, it comes across as being something for children, when in fact children can handle a lot more than we give them credit for. And so, by the time I went to college at Princeton, like you said, I was practicing the faith only sporadically. Still more or less believed in all of the kind of moral teachings of the church, but was not engaged in the practice of the faith. It seemed like something that was just not really worth the time. And it's kind of ridiculous to say that when you're really just talking about an hour a week to go to mass, because that's what it felt like all it really would require. Of course, the whole point of the book and the point of a lot of my work now is that it requires a lot more than that. But even that bare minimum, I was like, I'm sleepy on Sundays. And then honestly, the Catholic chaplaincy at Princeton was outstanding. There's wonderful professors out there. The priests who were there were wonderful. I had some wonderful friends who gently encouraged me to go back to mass. For instance, when he was going, he would ask me to go with him. Mm-hmm. And when I said, nah, he would ask me why. And so I'd have to articulate some really bad reason, like I'm tired all the time. There's nothing new about being tired at 4:00 on Sundays, because it was an afternoon mass at the university. And so I eventually returned to the practice of the faith, returned to the sacraments at the university. And this is kind of the opposite of the story for a lot of people. But to be honest, this kind of has kindled in me a real passion for campus ministry, because I don't think it should be the opposite. College is a time when people are searching, when young people are searching intellectually, often searching spiritually, even if they don't fully realize it, and where they're looking to have their questions answered, and often where they are experiencing a lot of psychological and emotional confusion and are feeling a little bit lost in the world. And that's exactly the kind of place where the light of Christ, where the light of the truth, needs to shine the brightest. And so I think that whatever you think of this comparison, I think that college campuses and prisons are two of the most fertile mission fields we have right now, where you have contained environments with people who are often struggling in various ways, where lots of people are trying to get them for various spiritual or intellectual movements or whatever, and where we should be active and bold. And so, so for me, then I then, returned to the practice of the faith in college. By the end of our senior year, I was engaged, and the rest, I suppose, is history. I ended up working in politics for a while, and my career, such as it is, has been basically a slow disentanglement from politics. And
Very
now work on Catholic writing and editing and speaking and so on full time.
Awesome stuff. And the book that we're going to talk about today, It Is Right and Just, and the subtitle, by the way, is Why the Future of Civilization Depends on True Religion, is just a fascinating topic to talk about. And as you kind of mentioned or alluded to, and I love the analogy where you just said, colleges and prisons are two areas that are the most fertile in the mission field today, especially in America anyway. And trying to capture that captive audience and do conscience formation with them in that area is so very important. This book seems to be something that our world needs, especially right now, for what we're going through and all of the political drama that is unfolding constantly. It seems like in today's culture. So, if I can just ask you about, why did you choose to write this book, write at this specific time? Was it because of all of the turmoil that we have going on?
Yeah, it's funny. We didn't. Dr. Hahn and I did not anticipate a pandemic, and well, I guess we could have anticipated a fractious election cycle, even if it wasn't here yet. We probably could have predicted that, but we didn't predict the acceleration of the instability and confusion in the world around us, certainly to the extent that it occurred when we decided to write on this topic. But obviously turned out to be even more timely than we knew. I think that people recognize that we are living in a time, like I said, of instability, and that I think people recognize implicitly, even though we might disagree about the specific contours of this, we understand that a lot of the instability in the world today, in America and around the West and around the whole world, has to do with a lack of justice. Like I said, we might disagree about the specific contours of that, but everyone understands to some degree that societies are not functioning precisely the way they should, and more so than usual. Not just in the normal sense that societies usually don't quite work just so, but in a more serious and seemingly perhaps permanent or terminal sense than we had perceived. And so, the main thesis of the book then is to say that the justice that we expect and hope for in the world around us doesn't come out of nothing. It can't emerge out of a kind of liberal secular consensus that tries to get rid of any sort of supernatural idea of what is good and right and just, but depends for its entire stability and sustainability on what we would call the supernatural or the vertical axis of justice. You could think of justice as being cruciform. the vertical axis of justice is traditionally the virtue of religion, the virtue by which we give whatever justice we can in our human way to God. Mm-hmm. The vertical axis of justice, in that kind of cross form of justice, that is the justice we owe to our fellow man. And when the vertical isn't there, when we've ignored it, when we've considered it out of bounds, then that horizontal has nothing to stand on. And so you can understand then the instability and the injustice of our world today as being an artifact of the lack of justice that we are performing to God in the virtue of religion.
Yeah, what a beautiful beautiful way to lay it out for us. And I also love that you mirror the words we hear every Sunday at Mass. Right, every Sunday at Mass, it is right and just. Isn't that our reply? Right?
Yes. It's an ancient response too. There's nothing, this is not something that was just appended to the Mass at the Second Vatican Council or something like that. These words are attested almost as early as any words of the Mass. It's either the 2nd or the 3rd century. There is evidence of these words being used in the Mass, and so this idea of religion as a matter of justice, that worship is a matter of justice, not something we just add on to our life as a nice little accessory, but as an essential aspect of our duty to the Lord. This is as ancient as anything in the church. And like I said, it's not a modern add-on, nor is it a medieval add-on. It is as traditional as it gets.
How beautiful. Folks, I have to take a short break here on Young Catholics Respond as we're talking with Brandon McGinley, but about his new book with Dr. Scott Hahn, It Is Right and Just, Why the Future of Civilization Depends on True Religion. We got to just take a quick break, Brandon, but when we come back, I'm going to continue talking with you about this topic because there's so many different facets to understanding how worship truly is a duty that we have to perform as humans toward God, and also how we can bring that worship out more in a public way so that people can begin realizing and recognizing how we can be just and right to put religion in the proper context in our society. So right back after these messages here on Young Catholics Respond. I'm Bill Snyder.
Are you looking for a way to deepen your prayer life and faith this Advent season? A Contemplative Las Posadas by Bill Snyder is a novena that offers reflections based on the traditional Mexican devotion that reenacts the journey of Saint Joseph and the Blessed Virgin Mary from Nazareth to Bethlehem. The ecclesiastically approved devotional is available for purchase for only $4.99 on our website, patchworkheart.org, or emailing info@patchworkheart.org. At times it seems like the world today is filled with so much division, bigotry, and hatred. So it's up to us to make sure that we get back to the basics, and that is Jesus Christ and his message of faith, hope, and love. Faith, Hope, Love with John and Morgan Bender is a new project that seeks to do just that by engaging and inspiring Catholics within the Archdiocese of Milwaukee and beyond. Read personal faith stories, interviews, and news all by visiting the Faith, Hope, and Love blog.blogspot.com or follow us on Twitter at Johnny Bender MKE.
Hi everybody, Bill Snyder here. Just want to thank you for listening to this episode of Young Catholics Respond. And as a founder of Patchwork Heart Ministry, we have so much more going on than just our podcasts. Check it out at patchworkheart.org.
Patchwork Heart Ministry is committed to sowing hope into broken hearts by helping young people encounter the love of Jesus Christ and his Catholic Church through prayer, storytelling, and media initiatives. We invite you to prayerfully consider supporting this mission financially. Mail your tax-deductible donation to Patchwork Heart Ministry at P.O. Box 563, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, zip code 53147. Or visit patchworkheart.org to donate online. That's Patchwork Heart Ministry, P.O. Box 563, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin 53147, or online at patchworkheart.org.
The St. Raymond Nonatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith offers prayerful accompaniment for those who are affected by divorce and separation. We offer free online support meetings for those affected by divorce and for adult children of divorce. You can learn more about us at nonatus.org. That's NONNATUS.org. Text or call 215-870-9913.
Our Blessed Mother wants only the best for her children and has given us a special place where she promises to help all those who appeal to her motherly love and protection. Telling Saint Juan Diego that here I will alleviate the sufferings of all those who love me and seek my protection. That holy place is now the site of the beautiful Shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico City. If you would like to learn more about how you can visit this special place of grace, please visit vivaguadalupe.org for more information. Our Lady may be calling you now.
Your heart is always beating, but you never have to think about it.
Welcome back to Young Catholics Respond. Once again, Bill Snyder.
Welcome back to Young Catholics Respond, everybody. Today my guest is Brandon McGinley. He is a Catholic writer and speaker based in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. He is talking about his latest book with us on the program today. It is Right and Just is its title. Why the Future of Civilization Depends on True Religion. And, you gave us a really great overview in the first half of the program, Brandon, about this. And but I want to kind of delve into some of the specific topics. You definitely talked about the cruciform being, having a vertical justice in which the horizontal justice of humanity kind of rests on, which I think is a beautiful analogy. But let's talk a little bit about where did religion come from? Is it a right given to us by the state? Just maybe talk a little bit about that, because I think oftentimes in America, especially today, we're kind of deluded by that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We tend to think of everything. It's easy to think of everything as being basically contingent on the state, as if every aspect of life that we are permitted to pursue in a certain amount of liberty, we can only do so because of the state, as if the default is that we aren't permitted to pursue some aspect of life, but we are only by virtue of the state. And obviously, in the case of religion, if we take seriously the idea that religion is an aspect of justice that we owe to God, first of all, it is an individual duty that precedes the state, first of all. But then secondly, and this is very important in the book, it is not just an individual duty. It is not just an individual aspect of justice. It is an aspect of justice that requires community participation, and requires it is a corporate or communal aspect of justice. And so the family, for instance, as a unit has duties in virtue of the virtue of religion, and so does ultimately the entire society, because the idea that the idea in our world today is that the individual could be religious, again, kind of as a hobby, as a little treat, Yeah. But society, anything beyond the individual is secular, is supposed to be neutral, as if that's possible. But one of the main theses of the book is that it is impossible to be neutral. You can't be neutral between performing the duties of justice to the Lord and not performing the duties and justice to the Lord. One of those is good and one of those is bad. There's no in between. There's no treating there's no treating justice as if it is we can't be indifferent to it. That's not an option on the table. Yeah. And so when a society has excluded the possibility of true religion, that is to say, the rights of the Catholic Church, has excluded that as a possibility for the organization of society, the result isn't indifference. It is indifference, but it is something more than indifference. The result is idolatry. The result is a kind of paganism where we organize our society around idols, such as profit, such as pleasure, such as certain political identities, such as consumerism, that are at least as exacting and far less merciful than the true God. And so the question before us as a civilization isn't, shall we be a religious society? Isn't, shall we organize ourselves around a religious truth? Isn't, shall we perform duties to the truth? It is, which truth, which religion, which gods will we serve? Inasmuch as we have excluded the possibility of serving the true God, we are going to serve other gods. And so as long as we have this idea in our heads that religion is something that we only have by virtue of the state, we will, in some way, shape, or form, end up worshiping the state or those gods that the state allows us to worship, like profit, identity, you don't even need me to list the possibilities. Right. And that even prescinds from speaking about the at this point small scale but still rising increase in genuine paganism and things like that. So I think the question then is who, not shall we worship, but whom shall we worship?
Yeah, worship really is non-negotiable, right? You're going to end up worshiping something, even if you say you don't worship anything, right? It also brings to mind, I always like that scripture from Revelation where Christ says, "If you're lukewarm, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth," as well. And that's a beautiful imagery. That indifference really is not an option. We
right.
And so challenging this has to move us into one way or another. And the other big question, I guess, then that lies there is, okay, well, those people who say no, just keep it as a hobby, shove it down as your own opinion, because that's truly what it is. How do we then take it from being something that the world says shove down, keep silent, don't speak it out, to oh no, this is actually how as you said, religion presupposes or predates the society. So how so how do we take it and make it something that is showing the truth of our faith?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the two things that pop immediately to mind. One comes from the cover of the book itself, which is public liturgy, public prayer, bringing Christ to the world. And I know that we're in the middle of a pandemic, and it's a little bit harder to talk about having public events, but at some point we will feel more safe and free to be able to do these kind of things. And outdoor stuff's supposed to be pretty darn safe. So in any event, the cover of the book is a beautiful painting of a Rogation Day procession, which was one of these old liturgical events, thanking the Lord for the harvest. One of these seasonal things. You have processions, Eucharistic processions through the fields. It's a beautiful painting, and the cover is lovely. So that idea covers two things. First of all, it's public. It's public. It's truly bringing the physical presence of Christ to the world.
Yes.
Secondly, conceptually, it brings the religious, the supernatural, out of its prescribed space in the secular understanding into a different conceptual space, into the conceptual space of the material, even the scientific, by thanking the Lord for that. Of course, we no longer live in agrarian societies, but thanking the Lord for harvest, or thanking the Lord for some sort of aspect of our physical material sustenance, we are witnessing to the fact that we owe everything to God, not just our spiritual well-being, but our material well-being as well. We're witnessing to the fact that he keeps us in being, not just in some sort of abstracted sense, but in a truly intimate sense in every moment of our lives. So there's the idea of liturgy and that kind of conceptual bringing faith out of the purely supernatural and spiritual and bringing it into the material world. And then secondly, it is living as Catholics 24/7, not just in the 1 hour a day at Mass, not just in our homes, but refusing to cede the rest of our lives, the other 200 some odd hours or whatever it is of the week, to refusing to cede that to secularism, refusing to cede that to a false neutrality. So that means when we're challenged on something that we know is unjust at work or something like that, saying this, I cannot do this. Not backbiting and gossiping whenever that is the norm among the people around us. Just things like that should be easy. Easy is not the right word. That should make sense. Living this way is not easy. But that should make sense. But so often we've become so catechized by the idea that we can't be Christians in a full sense outside of the prescribed spaces. That's the catechesis we've received, and that's the catechesis we live. And I say this not to cast aspersions on everyone around me, but just knowing from my own life that this is such an easy thing to fall into.
Yeah, it is, and taking it out and making it public. I do love the cover of the book, and I encourage everybody to get a copy of this book. It is a beautiful cover on this, and you gave some really great insights as to why it's there. And making our faith public, and just it doesn't have to be a lot of, it doesn't have to be necessarily like big things. It just is bringing the Lord into your daily life every day and making him in a public way, whether it's even praying the rosary on a train.
Yes. Absolutely.
Right. I mean, like those little things can really help. Just saying, there's people that are religious, that are, this guy believes this. And so that's beautiful. I want to ask you in just the closing minutes of the program. First of all, your website is BrandonMcGinley.com. So people can go there and check out the many different things that you do there, writing, speaking, books, and all of that. But also just tell us a little bit about that, and tell us about where people can get a copy of the book and all that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my website's BrandonMcGinley.com. You can read more about my stuff there. These days there's not too much going on in terms of speaking engagements, but I do stuff on Zoom and so on. So, I'm happy to accept all inquiries there. And then, the book is available at Emmaus Road Publishers, which is Dr. Hahn's organization with the St. Paul Center for Biblical Theology out there in Steubenville. And so you can find the book there, and anywhere else Catholic books are sold. So that's me, and that's the book.
Awesome, Brandon. I thank you so much for coming on today and being on Young Catholics Respond. Definitely have to have you back anytime you write a book. I'd love to talk about it with you, or anything else. So thank you so much.
Have a good one.
Yes, well, thanks, folks. This has been an episode of Young Catholics Respond. Until next time, from all of us here at Patchwork Heart Ministry, I'm Bill Snyder. Keep beating to your Catholic heart.
You've been listening to Young Catholics Respond, a radio initiative of Patchwork Heart Ministry. To learn more about our ministry and program, visit us at patchworkheart.org. Or to get exclusive access and early ministry updates, become our patron on Patreon by searching for Patchwork Heart Ministry.